Hi, Ms. Bello. Good morning. I'm Hannah. I'm one of the Strategic Management Fellows, and I'm filling in for Christina today.
Bless you. Thank you, Hannah. Good morning.
We'll give Ms. Brody and then the school choice and facility folks a couple minutes to join before we get started.
Absolutely. I'm enjoying my coffee here.
We are live on YouTube now, though, so just FYI.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Bill.
I know I'm a little early. I'll put you guys back on mute for a couple minutes. Thank you.
So Hannah, just a clarifying question. I do have the committee report out tool and wondering if that's the order I should go, or should I go with the publicly posted agenda order? Good morning.
Yeah, let me just pull that up.
We're in for a fun ride, Miss Rossley.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm in. She's like, no. You could tell immediately who likes roller coasters, and then I say that.
My last one was Space Mountain. That was it.
Ooh, I'm a ground lover too. I'm like, no, I'm good.
That's it. It's gonna be fine. Yay.
I know it's the first time I'll chair, so
Exciting.
I know. But I'm all sorts of a Robert's rules breaker, so let's hope we get through today.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chief Davis Gooch. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well.
Good. Nice to see you.
Likewise.
All right, Miss Bella, I'm still working to pull it up. I think that we should go with, well, I'll kick it to Chief Davis Gooch. What office would you prefer we start with in our updates this morning?
Oh, sure. Were you trying to pull up the agenda?
Yeah, I have the board docs one. Oh yeah, go ahead, Ms. Bella.
No, exactly. I have the board docs as well, which is just a little bit different than the report out tool that Christina shared. So there's just transportation comes after.
Well, I got it.
It just doesn't match. So I just wanted to see which way we wanted to go today.
Yeah, I think we were planning Office of Enrollment and School Choice, facilities / the construction update, and then the transportation update. Is that okay?
Absolutely. I'll just flip flop it here that way.
But honestly, either way is fine. So is it better to stick with what's in board docs?
Well, that's in board docs actually.
Oh, the way I just shared it. Okay.
Exactly. It's just in my board report out tool. It was flip flop, but that's okay. I have fixed it, and I just wanted to make sure I'm not losing people. Good morning, Mr. Bassano.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Oh, it says Ilka Torres. Whoops. I'm not Ilka Torres. Everyone. There you are.
Easy.
Clearly. Sorry?
It was an easy fix.
Yes. If it were that easy, right? Like
I
Bill
know.
Gates, you know, my Zoom account says Bill Gates.
And so I can't tell you the number of times people say Google instead of Googe.
Oh,
Yeah, and so I always say,
not today.
I wouldn't be right here if I was Google.
Oh man. That just reminds me of all of the Google stuff we did when our kids were remote. So that gives me a little PTSD, honestly.
I know, right? I know. It started out on finding dandy Google, right? Gmail. And now it's like, woo.
Yeah, I'm good. It's getting to the level where I can't live without it. So it's
I
not good.
know. Yep.
Not sure if I should wait for another colleague from my end, but I give it, if it's okay, just give it one more minute and then we'll rock on. Awesome.
Yep, sure. And I
Oh.
should say, I think that from my end, it's probably going to be pretty quick.
Okay.
Morning, everyone.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, Ms. Highfield. All right, I'm seeing the minute done, so I will open up the meeting. Good morning, everyone. We are gathered. Thank you. That always scares me. We are gathered today. Good morning, everyone. Gathered today for the School Choice and Facilities Committee meeting. My name is Yvette Bello. I am with the Board of Education. And with me are all these fine folks. I don't know if we want to go around the room. But I guess we can do it as needed, perhaps. So wonderful. So today's agenda is posted on board docs, and we will start with item 1, Office of Enrollment and School Choice Update.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning. My name is Sherry Davis Googe. I am the Chief Operating Officer. Joining me from the Office of Enrollment and School Choice is Mrs. Carolyn Ross Lee, who I will turn it over to give that office's update.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. From the Office of Enrollment and School Choice, Director Crossley. I just wanted to start out with what we've done before. We previously shared, forgive me, my throat is working with this cough drop. So we previously shared that the Resco Lottery opened in November and November 8th and closed in February 28th. But it's still accepting late applications, right? So at this point, people can still apply for late applications. The lottery timeframe, it's expected to run in the next couple of weeks. It's dependent upon how, well, our spring break. So it's either gonna run next week early, or we'll wait until after we return from spring break. It's still not really clear. They haven't set the final date from Resco office. However, we also it will run sometime this month, April, and the Resco Spring Fair will happen in person after that. So for April 30th, there's planned a spring fair. And there'll be an opportunity for parents to continue to submit applications if they have not, or hopefully, set up their registrations. And we expect all of our schools to be there. It will be April 30th. It's planned from 10 until 2 at the Academy of Science and Innovation in New Britain. More details about that event will be on our website, so people can check it out there.
I'm sorry, just one piece of clarification. All schools for that Resco Fair, that means magnet, and our schools that participate in Open Choice.
Open Choice. Thank you.
Mhm.
So any questions on that? We are also planning, we are in the process of working with our families for placement for next year. and those who have already applied will share their placement in May. And otherwise, we will continue to engage our families. We, as the COVID restrictions lessen, we usually in the past have had a fair, an expo, and a kind of kindergarten event, and we're planning to combine those two things now. So for an in-person event for our families in Hartford. And so that's the kind of the end of my report there.
Thank you so much, Director Rossley. Question about that, right? How do you feel we're doing in terms of with enrollment, and are we in a good place? Is it, super low? Is it where it is all the time? I mean, if you can give me a sense of that.
So I am going to refer to Chief Gouge, but as we've been continuing to take in new residents, like our numbers for this month, very drastically different from our numbers in August and September, but it's continuing, it's ongoing. It obviously, I think enrollment is down across the board for everybody, but we continue. I'm not sure if your question is about enrollment around RESCO, magnet placement, or if it's around just overall enrollment.
Give me the RESCO magnet placement, just a sense of how that's
in terms of applications.
Yeah.
The numbers were lower than pre-pandemic, but trending a little higher than they were last year. So it's slowly moving back to pre-pandemic, but I don't know that it'll ever get fully there.
What we can do, Chairman Bellio, is we are going to do a full report out, right? Just comparing pre-pandemic last year and then where we are this year. I think what will be significantly different this year is that the RESCO is having ongoing applications being submitted. So there was like a definitive on-time application and late application period. For lack of a better word, they're kind of blurring it a little bit in terms of just making sure that we're engaging all families just as we move through the pandemic. They're giving more opportunity for late applications to kind of build up the pool from the on-time applications. So once we get to a good point of that, which is probably within the next 3 weeks or so, then we will be able to provide this organization with a report out on the numbers.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And again, I think I would just reiterate that the Hartford District School placement process, that we are going to go all out in the next few months to make sure that we are re-engaging engaging our kindergarten families, and just making sure that our students who are moving from our transitional grades into another school are all engaged and aware of their planning for next school year. And I believe that ends the Office of Enrollment and School Choice update.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Director Rossley and Chief David Gouge, not Google, Gouge. I will never call you that, by the way. So we'll move on to forecasting of new school construction projects.
Okay. So I'll start off. Claudio, please join in to help me provide this update. Joining me on this update is Executive Director of Facilities, Claudio Bazzano.
Good morning.
So I will begin by just running through our projects from current to coming up next. So starting with Buckley. So there's two pieces to Buckley, right? There's the central administration piece and actually the high school renovation. So as we discussed in previous committee meetings, the central administration piece is the piece that we continue to work with the state and city on to figure out those reimbursement rates. So those conversations continue. We have not closed the loop on where we stand yet, but those conversations continue with regular meetings with the state and the city and Hartford Public Schools. So really where we are now is focusing our attention on the Buckley High School renovation to ensure that we're staying on track to get our kids back into the building, which was forecasted for August 2024, correct?
Yes.
Rosano, yes. And so with that piece, we are also in discussions with the state, and I'm actually going to turn it over to Claudio in one moment, but there are two things happening here. One is, of course, the impact of COVID on the bidding process and all of that. And so how does that impact where we're going? So there's some value engineering that is happening. And also being discussed is the space waiver in terms of how we, I'm going to turn that over to Claudio. I have a good understanding of it, but Claudio does a much better job of explaining it. Mr.
Thank you,
Bazzano?
Chief Goosh. Space waiver, I can explain briefly in this way. The Office of School Grants and Construction allows a certain square footage for each student in the building. That's how they determine their grant. We have 850 students, I believe, scheduled for Buckley High School with all the programs in there. And they're stating that based on the building size, we're about 35,000 square feet over on that number of students. So they've asked us to justify the additional space. And that's where we're in the process of working with Arcadis and the Hartford School Building Committee. We have several programs that are specialized programs. They require more square footage per student than a regular general high school student. So they understand that if we provide the justification, we expect to get approval. So we're currently in that process.
Yep, and I think the only thing I would add so we, as you know, we have Hope and Hope 2, which is our alternative programs. It was programmed that those programs would be on site here at the Buckley High School. So that's just an example of the programming we're referring to, as well as bringing some of our special education students and programs back into those buildings. So those are kind of the things we're sharing with the state. Surprisingly, we've had these conversations, but with the new leadership, we're just bringing them up to speed. So hopefully this is just a formality.
It's a common practice on other school projects, especially when you get into a renovation. Certain parts of the facilities remain there. You're renovating them. Over the years, the allowances change, and we like to keep the amenities that are in that building.
Yes, thank you so much for explaining, first of all, space waivers. I was wondering if there were other schools in our district, or maybe even in other districts, that have had this sort of overage of square footage, and we could point to that as precedent for moving forward with our.
I think almost every one of our schools has gone through this process based on enrollment and, as I pointed out, amenities. The Office of School Grants and Construction and now usually has a combination cafeteria, auditorium space. Well, all our schools have separate spaces. So those are additional spaces they normally wouldn't allow. So those are the kind of things that we would request a space waiver for. And we've gone through that in multiple schools.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I'll turn to Burns Latino Studies. They have completed phase 1, which was the pre-K classrooms renovation. As you know, that Hartford Pre-K is now also co-located on that campus. And also there was an elevator that also needed to be placed in that building. So that is complete. They're moving into phase 2, which is actually the renovation piece, and demo work will start in the month of April during school vacation. Okay.
We're all gonna go on a field trip and do some demo, right?
Bring our sledgehammers.
Let a little out.
So that project is on target and should finish between August and September 2024. But again, it's an occupied renovation. Buddy, you know, one thing I don't think we've ever talked about here is the roof replacement on your office. Want to share a little bit?
Sure. Our roof has been leaking for about 5 years. Since it's a facilities department, you know, it's like the shoemaker has holes in his shoes. Well, our building has always been like last in line. We finally started that process through CIP, and actually the work is ongoing. They started towards the end of last week. There's been a lot of banging going on. I look forward to the day where I can take my bucket down that collects rainwater when it rains. But we're getting there, and we're excited to finally have this roof repaired.
I'm happy that you won't be rained on as well. And it's finally moving along. I just want to acknowledge board member Brody. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. All right. We can move on.
Okay, and so our next group of projects are Betances, Kennelly, and Wish. Our last report out, we shared that the city had moved out for an RFP on the program manager. That process is just about wrapped up. Meetings were held last week. So within the next couple of weeks or so, we should have a program manager named. In terms of our internal communication here at the board, we know that the Wish community, it will be moving to 104 Vine Street for the upcoming school year. Buildings and Ground, Claudio and his team have already started the work of preparing that building for the new students. We've done some walkthroughs with the principal, communication to the school community, including staff, then obviously parents, and then actually out to the NRZ and the Blue Hills community. I believe Chief Blackburk has shared with me that we're also going to connect with them to kind of talk through the process. We can't give you official timelines yet because that is the program manager's job to develop that schedule. But I think the takeaway here is that we are preparing for that Wish transition into the new building. Okay. And if Mr. Bazzano has nothing else to add, that concludes the facilities and construction update.
All set. Thank you.
Okay.
Great. Let's move on to item number 3, transportation update. I see Bill getting ready. So take it away. Or if you want to open a date, Chief Goosh.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to introduce Bill Mason, our Director of Transportation. As we previously talked about, we were seeking a 1-year extension on the transportation contract, and I'm going to ask Bill to go ahead and give us that update.
Sure. So the update on the contract extension will be for 1 year, and we've agreed with Autumn. We went back and forth and discussed everything about the extension. The rate will be the same as it was this year, but the addition of this year's living wage increase in Hartford, we have to add that as part of our contract. So nothing really changes besides that in the contract. Everything else pretty much stays the same, and it goes back through next summer, into next summer. So after this, we'll be moving it on to the Finance Committee and, hopefully get this wrapped up within a month. And besides that, in transportation, we're now planning for intercession that starts for spring break week, the Monday through Thursday of that week. And we'll have our list tomorrow and be able to have our routes built and sent out to parents by Tuesday for intercession. So we'll be ready to go with that. And then we're pre-planning now for summer school as well now, and then building out what schools we're going to be using and try and, estimate what the cost and the amount of buses we're going to need for summer school this summer. I think that's it for us right now.
Thank you, Mr. Mason.
I see a question from Board Member Brody. Go ahead, Ms. Brody.
Good morning. I have a couple questions. First question is related to transportation. I think we have, and there's no easy way to put it and no good way to gloss over it. We have some bus stops that are extremely dangerous. I know we've talked in this committee before about not being able to change certain bus stops that are on busy, wide corners, like Mather and Main. It's wide, it's big. The bus driver can't pull more into Mather to avoid that. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, at least in my neighborhood, right? There's a corner that is notorious. There has to have been, at least in the last 10 years that I've been counting, maybe 8 murders on this particular corner. And it is a busy bus stop. So I think when we're thinking about these transportation routes, we have to think about what corners, because bringing a bus stop up one block can be a world of a difference. And the bus stop that I'm particularly referring to is Pavilion in Maine. It should not be a bus stop. It's certain stops that that should be considered. So that is my first, not really a question, but just a point to consider, right? So, and I'm saying at these bus stops, it's not like it's an overnight shooting. It's like a shooting in the middle of the day, 2:00 in the afternoon. And when I ride by there and see families gathered, I cringe. So I just wanted to make that point because I've been thinking about that as of late. The second, I didn't know. Should I pause for that? Because I didn't.
If you don't mind, because I can say what we've been doing so far with some of them, Shantae, because we do get requests from families and people to move some of the stops after different things happen. There's another stop nearby there right now that we're working with right now to move as well, where the car accident was just yesterday morning. There's been multiple issues on that corner as well. So we do try to go up a block, and I'll look at the Pavilion one as well. But that's what we try to do. We try to lift the whole stop and move the stop so we don't lose the kids from that bus stop and keep them at their same time and their same stop, and so families know. So we do look at them and we try to move them. We've moved some already this year, and yeah, it does happen. You're absolutely right, and we do try to move as we can.
Okay, I appreciate that. The second is not transportation, because I came in, I apologize for my tardiness. I came in on the tail end of the construction discussion. So Chief Davis-Gould, you mentioned something about when the new program manager is that the new program manager that's the city is deciding?
So there is actually a committee, right? Just anytime a proposal comes out, there's a committee that reviews the proposal, and you go through the whole rating based on what they submitted on the proposal, as well as a interview process. And
but that's the program manager for all construction projects that you were referring to?
No, it would be for these specific projects, Betances, Wish, and Kennelly.
Okay, so I just wanted to make that distinction, because in community meetings, there has been discussions about RFPs going out for the city to pick, like for all projects. I don't even know how it works, but I know
what you're talking about. Yeah,
and
that's separate.
Okay, I just wanted to make that point of clarification. And my last thing, I'm so sorry, is through you, Madam Chair, was it discussed on the fact that is central office moving out of Buckley into Washington Street, while something is getting finished in their office on Buckley Street. Like, was that discussed or is that not true?
So it's a part of the process that we're in. What I shared earlier is that we are in the process of having conversations with the city and state about how best to keep the project on track for the time, right? Our students were scheduled to come back into the building August 2024. I shared in this committee maybe a few months back that there was going to be about a 9-week period where we would be out of the building to allow for certain structural events to happen. As now we're here at this point, we're really looking at what it looks like in its entirety, right? So just scoping out, does it make sense for us to leave just the 9 weeks and now keep the project on track as we deal with the COVID implications too? What else does that mean? Like, we are exploring anything and everything that allows us to keep the project on track. As far as 110 Washington Street, it is a building that we discussed possibly, but we are looking at others just to come up with options so we can plan to move forward. So,
okay.
Yep.
Go ahead, Chief DeWooch.
Oh, I was just going to say, whether we find swing space, 110 Washington Street within the city of Hartford, or and what's that time period is the things that we're looking at right now.
Okay, so with that said, again, in a community meeting, it's already like this being discussed, like it's a thing we're going for, like even that we're pouring money into 110 Washington Street. So my only concern would be if we're going into spaces for temporary, not like what we may have to do for the old Milner building on Vine Street for wish kids, you can't have them in any condition. But if we're, and it's not like a 8 or 9 weeks, but if we are just doing temporary moves, I'm worried about the investment that we're going to be putting into a 110 Washington Street, if any, right? To have a short stay there for.
Absolutely. And so I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Mm-hmm.
Were you finished?
I'm done.
Yeah, I just wanted, my brain went. So 110 Washington Street was being discussed because it is a city building, right? Where a lease wouldn't have to be, we wouldn't incur the cost of a lease, right? Certainly there would need to be some type of renovation to the building to accommodate the staff. But there has been, that was just an option. There has been no, we're moving to 110 Washington Street. So I'm not sure where that's coming from because we have not really been able to plan out our next steps completely. So I guess I'm just wondering how that conversation had in the community, but to your point, I think it's important. So here we're being clear about where we are in our next step. So hopefully that will carry out into the community as well.
Yes, so it's just a buzz among construction folks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. World about, because they're trying to keep their ears to the ground in regards to work, right? I'm assuming, but it's from people that are in the construction field.
And I also would want to, and Claudia, you correct me if I'm wrong. So when we talk about swing space, generally swing space is a piece of the construction project, right? It's not that we would have to come out of, I'm not going to say Hartford Public Schools wouldn't contribute, but it would be built into the construction project, right? Those are the discussions that we would be having with the city and state about how do we manage this project in a way, right? If we're moving out of the building to keep the project on track, that means that there's some cost savings somewhere that possibly can be applied to swing space, right? So the best bet would be that it's a net zero impact, right? That we're taking the dollars that would be used to kind of work around us and repurposing them so we can be out of the building and the project moves faster, or at least stays on track. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if I can add, Chief Gooch, Ms. Brody, just to clarify one thing that you said, just so that it's clear, we have not spent any money for any space as of this time. You mentioned that you had heard that some monies were being spent on the 110 Washington Street. And we haven't anywhere. We haven't spent any money. We're still in a discussion stage of what is the best option for the construction project to move forward on schedule, and what is the best option for the board to continue to operate. As far as swing space, Wish is an example of swing space for Milner is an example of swing space for Wish School. Years past, we have moved kids into leased swing space like we used to have on Locust Street for many years for multiple projects. I think we did that for a period of about 10 years. And those funds were recovered through the projects. And that is something that will be a discussion once a decision is made or the options are presented, whether and how much the state can kick in to cover any expenses to help move the project along. Because anytime we remove the board out of the space, it'll speed up the process. They don't have to work around us. So those are discussions that we're having right now. What is the best option and the least cost option for everything, the whole project included? These are just pieces of the project that we're discussing. Hopefully I've explained that a little bit more.
Yes, thank you. So it hasn't been talked about that money has been spent. I just stress that I'm concerned about if money is going into a space that we're going to be there for 8-9 weeks. It hasn't been said that money has been spent yet, but I do appreciate all the information that's been presented. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Board Member Brody. And every meeting I'm in with you, I always appreciate your questions. So I always learn through you. And again, thank you, team. You always put some light on things that I'm still learning about. And I'm sure if I'm in appreciation, then our community is in appreciation as well for that. So appreciate, the back and forth. So we were in, is there any other questions, Board Member Brody, from any other parts of the agenda that you might want to revisit? And if not, we can go back to transportation.
Nope, I'm all set. Thank you.
Awesome. So Director Mason, were you completed on your section?
No, I was also.
Okay, perfect. And again, just echoing appreciation. Thank you for considering the movement of that bus stop. Again, value the on the ground, consideration of our students. I'm cringing too that we have to think about traumatic events that happen on our way, our children's way to school. Look forward to a day where that's not a thing, but appreciate how the administration is going to, take care of our children even before they're within school walls, and appreciate that. So Chief Davis Couch, just would you like to add anything to the transportation section?
Nope, I think we're all set.
Awesome. That's all we had for our agenda. I mean, you did promise a quick one, but I'll just go around the room again. If there's anything else you'd like to share with the committee this morning, feel free to speak up. And if not, I can gift you back time, and not everybody can do that. So I'm feeling pretty powerful today. And I'm just going to double check again with Board Member Brody. Do you feel like we are good to conclude the meeting? I see typing.
I'm all set. I had some audio,
Oh, okay. We're all gonna whisper now.
but I'm all set. Yeah, I'm all
Fantastic.
set. Any questions or anything I had.
Okay, wonderful. Well, with that being said, I thank you all for your time and your work every day. But today as well, thank you for sharing your work with us. Hello, little one. And with that being said, this concludes the school choice and facilities meeting for today. Thank you so